Hey, how's it going? So this is take 3. I made a video already about this movie, Dogma, but I didn't like the way it came out, so I decided to redo it. And I'm just going to do what I almost did in the first place, was just read the notes I took while watching the movie. So I've seen it now for the second time, and I have to say that, wow, I didn't see it when it came out immediately. It was probably like, I don't know, a decade ago that I saw it. But I can tell you that my reaction after seeing it and while I was watching it, is so much different, and my understanding of it is so much different. And I know it's because I've changed, and so my perception has changed. So I'm not going to do like a regular movie review and stuff. Oh yes, there's my YouTube disclaimer stuff. Which is, have my bullet points all set up and ready for me to look at. And I'm not being really technical and linear about it, because it's more of a feely thing that I got from this review. And okay, so I have never liked crying for a number of reasons, but I'll tell you, I've been doing it more over the past couple of years because I've just become more sensitive. And not just in the sense of somebody said something that hurt my feelings, but those other more subtle sensitivities. And they were really getting me while I was watching this movie. So what I'm going to do is what I intended to do sort of in the first place, and then for some reason I allowed myself to be, I don't know, distracted from doing that going forward. But I'm not going to talk about technical issues or anything like that in this particular one. And just going to read my notes that I took as I was watching, and be watching it, and I just shut it off and scribble a bunch of stuff and click it back on. And I did that for 8 pages worth. But I yapped for over like a half an hour, and I didn't even say all of what I wanted to say yesterday, which is one of the problems I had with it. So here I go. I'm just going to read you my notes verbatim, and I'm going to do my best. I tried to clean it up so I'm not stumbling over my words, but when I just tried to do it, I was doing a lot of stumbling, so bear with me, please. Okay. Strip club music, so good it distracts. Rewind. Serendipity, the muse lays out the issues women have faced since ancient times, or always. It took up to the 6th Adam not to blow them up, perceiving the power of God's voice. But as I've learned, in reality as I see it, we are right now on our 6th go-round, and it wasn't the voice of God or the wrath that got us. We did that. And we're doing it right now to ourselves again. So this 6th thing, this really stood out for me, because when I started having sort of a change and awakened, as you will, to enlightenment, I kind of like just dove right into that. Like, I'm all into it. It's so mysterious and interesting, and there's psychic stuff and aliens and all kinds of phenomena. It's just like a whole new feature of life, and it's filled with so much of interest that, yeah, I'm like hooked. So one of the first things I started doing that I got a lot of information from was listening to people channel various entities. So long dead people and people from popular culture that have also passed, or something where they are no longer corporeal, and they are vibrationally sending messages to humanity for their betterment through people. And one of the first, well, he was the first one that I started watching, and it was a guy named Lee Carroll channeling an entity called Cryon. And Cryon, I'm inclined to call it a he because it's coming from a man, but I know that it is channeled through a lot of people of different languages and genders, and it's not really the person, they are the vessel that Cryon uses to come through. But Cryon is not like a guy. I guess there was a long time ago a guy called Cryon that I heard some Palladians mention kind of offhand on the Great Universe channel on YouTube. But if you hear it describe itself today, it will tell you that it's a collective of angelic energies from the angelic realm. So it's not like a single person, it's many, and they work as a collective to advise humans as they once again go through this process of trying to awaken from the amnesia we have at birth, to clean slate our lives, and we experience all the good times and the bad times and the tragedy and the horror and all of the triumphant successes and beautiful births and achievements and natural disasters and just whatever there is to be experienced as a human. We come in from our natural form as an energetic entity, a vibrational being of light, and we come here and maybe over and over for thousands of years, because we've had to keep doing it over and over. And we sure experience the stuff and go through it. And I mean, it's not like a remote thing the way that you or I might perceive of it. It is so much more, because our consciousness may exist somewhere else normally as a non-corporeal form, but we come here and we take these meat suits, and we feel the stuff for real. When something breaks or tears or gets cut, like, we feel that. We do bleed. And but that, I mean, what good would the experience be if you didn't get the full measure of it? So, okay, moving on. It took, one last thing about the sixth time. Humans have started over from primordial sludge, basically, and gone through all of the evolutions and all of the iterations until evolution, came up with us, and we're something like me. This unit is already like getting out evolved, and that's natural. That's how it should be. It took, God doesn't care which faith you have, as long as you have one, or what you call him, as long as you do. Jesus no like being carried out. Jesus no like shit being carried out in his name. Christian Nation, white super supremes, your KKKs and your Boogaloo Boys and your Patriot Front, etc., etc. He don't like that, you doing your stuff in his name. He said through Luther, played by Chris Rock, who was an apostle, that we crafted religion wrong. We took his idea and built upon a belief. Built upon it a belief. We took an idea, built upon a belief. It's easy to change your... Well, that's not right. An idea built upon a belief. Easier to change your mind and an idea than it is to dismantle a belief structure. And when I say structure, I mean that in the literal sense. Like, there's churches and foundations and the Vatican is the city of the Catholic religion because it has so much stuff. It requires a whole city, I guess. But the idea that what we're doing today and deciding what Jesus or God is going to love or hate based on our own human perceptions, that's God's not human. Jesus was a man, yes, but especially now that he's like dead and reborn a number of times, he's very powerful in those subtle ways that I mentioned before. So, moving on. Boom! Bartleby has an epiphany. When he hears that Bethany the human can choose to turn up her nose at God and be forgiven in his dogma, he's at first blown away. The idea that the human has more agency than he, the celestial being, he's shaken from his already weakened composure. He's been banished, and yet he'd been deluding himself that he was a non-contributing observer to Loki's inappropriate shenanigans. That's far from true because, as was stated, he's banished. Not only that, is he not going to step through the loophole with Loki, destroy it all? I mean, to all appearances, his benevolent shepherding lacks substance. He looks to be right there with Loki. Only his wisdom stopping Loki from killing all the time, but not sometimes. Anyway, he realizes when conferred with man's sentiments that he's incensed that God gave his human pets all the freedom to question and rage at God, to be able to not worship him if they so choose, and his creation. We have the free will to just poop on it all if we want. That's not a fictional thing. To still be free to bumble about as we see fit, ignorant, and as we see fit, to ignore and be ignorant about as much. To ignore and be ignorant of so much. That sounds like a cokehead. Ding! The amnesia we're born with to clean slate the lifetime we can be awakened from under the right conditions. And ding! Those details are up to God to make fall into place. We can edit the completed work and get our sticky free will finger smudges everywhere, but sticky finger smudges everywhere because we're mostly unaware of how powerful we are. Did I already talk about the worshiping? I think that was last time. So I'm going to mention it several times, but today, between last night when I wrote this and like an hour ago, I watched another channeling on a different YouTube account, and it's called something about like the voice of the ages, wisdom of the voice of the ages. I just call it the voice of God channel because the actor that narrates has this very commanding, godlike sounding voice. Anyway, what the guy who he channeled said, he's like an ancient Indian sage. I don't have the name off the top of my head, but what the sage said was that we are not worshiping God in like the dictionary sense of the word, or at least we're not meant to be. What he said we should be doing instead, or how we should think of it, is that We're just aligning ourselves with God's energy, and God's energy is of unconditional love and pure caring and concern and compassion. So, I mean, this is the way I read it. We sure, in God's presence, may fall to our knees, but that's not about subjugating ourselves. It is about, like I said, aligning ourselves with its energy and sort of taking on the characteristics of it. And like I said, that doesn't sound like a bad place to be. And then you can go out into the world or the realm, whatever it is, and spread his message. So it doesn't have to be like the people that you were afraid of running into at the airport talking about, have you heard the good news or anything else, like the ones that come to your door. It's not about that. It's about a state of mind and being and consciousness. Okay, so I'm going to mention worship here a number more times, so I just wanted to make sure that it was understood that that's what I mean by the word, even though I didn't know it before when I wrote this. Hey, you can change your mind. There's no law against it. So, okay. To my, let's see. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, I gotta go back. Darn it. Jeez, come on. So yeah, we're mostly unaware of how powerful we actually are. And with the human sensibility laid over it, Bartleby is now rotten with FOMO at the realization that he had screwed up already and lost his ability to hear the voice of God. And that the life he had chosen bitterly, those are my air parentheses, that's my addition, the bitterly was not part of it, but he came across as pretty bitter because he claimed that he only had a life to look forward to as a servant of God and doing his bidding and always praising it being God. That, to my way of thinking, doesn't sound like too bad a thing. Bartleby overcorrects and starts to go Morningstar / Lucifer, though. What are we here? Moving on. What are we here for? It comes as a shock to the child Jesus, per Rickman's Metatron. What's expected of him in his life? It's all too big, Metatron explains, because he's quoting Bethany when she is presented with her own mission. It's all too big. So persecution, I mean, I get that it's too big. Persecution and crucifixion at the hands of the other children of God. And martyrdom that, like that word includes death at the end of it. So yeah, it's not like great, the stuff that we have done in the past. Like, there's got to be better ways to express what we need to express than making somebody have to go through a life of hell and then to be appreciated after, like a Van Gogh painting. It was always great, but it didn't start selling until after the poor guy was dead. Like, just no use to him then. Anyway, you don't want to get too sidetracked. Because to me, Jesus wasn't his only son, just an especially chosen one. One of many fractal chips off the old block, though. One of many fractal chips off the old block, though. We think it's God's expectations that are so huge, but we place the roadblocks in front of ourselves. We do that. It's us who make the separations and intolerable differences. We put all that crap upon ourselves. I'm sorry, I don't mean to leave all this dead air. I just can't. Like I said, I thought I fixed this. We pulled all that crap upon ourselves. Or we put all that crap upon ourselves. Oh, it's us who make the separations and intolerable differences. We put all that crazy crap upon ourselves uh, with the wrong intentions. Oh, I see. Oh man, what a mess I made. Yeah, we put all that uh, crazy crap upon ourselves, and with the wrong intentions, shit can get crazy. Oh, I see. We put all that upon ourselves with the wrong intentions, shit can get crazy. Good grief, that was confusing. I swear it wasn't last time, so it makes freaking sense. We put all that crazy crap upon ourselves with the wrong intentions, shit can get crazy. So, God, one more time. We put all that crap upon ourselves with the wrong intentions, shit can get crazy. Okay, it left us here, God again, with free will and a few simple instructions. Love each other. Don't kill each other. Don't take the possessions of others without their permission. Don't be all creepy and lusty and leering at the women of other men or women, as the case should be, or whatever the case should be. So, simple, easy shit. And what did we do? We made isms, prime distractions and divisions we can't seem to tear ourselves away from. Bethany, the distant scion of Jesus, imbued with the same powers as her ancestors. I guess I should have said Bethany, the distant scion of Jesus, is imbued with the same powers as her ancestor. A regular, humble person who, in a questioning, quavering crisis of faith herself, gets tapped by God to receive a mission/message to deliver to the people on earth. Of the heavenly faithful faction and renegades, that is more human pish posh. Azrael, selfish with no regard for the hardship he and his determinedly irresponsible actions may cause, like incels and far rightists of every stripe, the misinformed and ignorant of the fact, and just like in Supernatural, oh, sorry, let me do that again because that all came out hackney too. The misinformed and, okay, like incels and far rightists of every stripe, the misinformed and ignorant of the fact that they are the architects of their own unhappiness. That didn't sound right either. Like incels and far rightists of every stripe, the misinformed and ignorant of the fact that they are the architect of their own unhappiness. Okay, that sounded more coherent. It's all rooted in the disregard of others. Moving on. Stop. Okay. Oh. Anyone can bestow a blessing if done out of sincere intent and love. I know that's kind of incongruous. Just, hi. Little advice in the middle of there. Friendly. Moving on. When Bartleby says, all pissy, to Bethany, you've only dealt with your pain for years. I've dealt with mine for millennia, and I was all, sounds like you haven't dealt with it at all. Bartleby dishing out lessons to everyone and God. That's a good one. When he hasn't learned a single one himself. Come on. Anyway, angels, he claims, can't experience forgiveness, or be forgiven, in other words, leaving them with only regret. Sure. in this telling, maybe Bartleby's but Bartleby's embodying the reason for all he claims to lack, and that oh, Bartleby's embodying the reasons for all he claims to lack, and that God's given to humans. Oh, one more time. Bartleby's embodying the reasons for all he claims to lack, and that God's given to humans so freely. Certainly poison envy. He got that. Once they feel the base emotion so intensely that they become angry and resentful. Oh, okay, so now I'm talking about Bartleby and Loki, who, once they feel the base emotion so intensely, they become angry and resentful. And in human guise, violent. That's my interpretation of Smith's telling. Just that last bit was. And so, just like in Supernatural, the angels are as fallible as humans, having the same doubts and inability to refrain from anger and violence. While they're still more powerful than humans in some ways, they completely drop their gratitude and love for the glory of God. The source of their power, by the way, the worship of it imbues them with love so intense nary a human eye can gaze upon it and come away from the experience mentally intact, or in Dogma, physically. While they seem insensible and so changed from the person they had been that they are no longer what we'd call sane. But the place they've gone to is filled with the ecstasy of God's love. A reason for the divergence? I mean, it's better over there. Who wouldn't want to stay? Especially if you're like living as a so-called crazy person in this reality. Like, sure, just leave a light on and I'll be at God's house. That sounds probably better. So yeah. There's so much going on in the retreat from what we would call sanity. Oh, I couldn't figure that out last time. Okay. So much going on in the retreat from what we call sanity, that what's left with us we call imbecilic. Sorry. I guess I'll start over there. But the place they're gone to is filled with the ecstasy of God's love, a reason for the divergence. So much is going on in the retreat from what we call sanity that what's left with us we call imbeciles. And for the pure of heart human, that kind of devotion leads to good things. Why do we worship him or Mother Earth? Because we are them. We are of them. These mortal human forms, I get it now. They're also our castles to live in and to manifest good works with. Our instruments. And this is what I do with my instrument. That works best when committing acts of kindness and love. You know. Good enough reason to me to drop the cruelty and unkindness. We could so easily accommodate each other were we to stop with the judgment and love the one we're with. And I don't mean just, it doesn't necessarily mean like make love, having sex, but I mean it in the sense of make nice, be nice. cherish the very existence of each other and enjoy the variety instead of trying to cancel it or stamp it out or make it illegal and find all kinds of everything wrong with it. Like, geez, can we give each other a break? And that concludes my notes and transmission of the notes. So, okay, I'm at about the same time that I was before, but I got it in the information much more clearly and coherently and cohesively than before. And can I just do a small follicle focus here? My hair is really pissing me off. But I had to take it out of the ponytail because even though it wasn't on there that tight, I have to have it sort of tight because I do. And you get a headache from it pulling all the time. And I just had to let the hair down to give my scalp a rest. But now I have this shoulder bob, I call it, because I'm in a rough patch with my hair. But see, what happens is it runs into my shoulder so much that it's turned into a bob, which is, okay, strange and interesting. But it's also a lot shorter than it would be normally because I just washed it this morning. So, yeah, it shrinks. Okay, that's all I wanted to say about that. Thank you, and good night.